7 to 1 in favor of the amendment.
Further discussion? Mr. Yule.
Good evening again. This cost to the town may not stay the way it is. There's a very good possibility that the state will require that we pay more than this down the road. And this is one of the concerns that we have as a board when we come across an issue like youth services that's going to impact our whole budget process. So we are concerned in that regard, and that's why some of us felt as we did with regard to youth services. So please understand.
Mr. Yule, on the amendment, please.
I was speaking of the funds.
The amendment is to amend the amount down to $406,000. I didn't hear you say anything related to the amendment.
Well, it's been brought down to $406,000, and we hopefully approve this amendment, but I expressed a concern that we will have, unfortunately, additional costs mandated by the state, and will affect our decision-making in the future. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. O'Leary.
I was the one member of the board that voted against this amendment. As Mr. Yule just pointed out, the town has an additional exposure in relation to this budget item because the significant number of the towns, the non-majority of the towns involved in the regional school district, which is 13 communities, funded the budget. It's going to go to the State Department of Education to determine what allocation each community will have to pay. We will have to pay more than $406,000. Going back to my previous discussion in relation to budgeting and trying to properly identify what our exposures are, I want to ensure that our unallocated resources do cover our exposures. We're not doing that specifically here. I believe that what we probably will get tagged with is close to that $450,000 mark. So to me, we should be appropriating the money and allocating funds similarly. Just to an earlier comment, which is somewhat related to how we're budgeting here and what we're doing this evening in relation to the Youth Services Committee, the Youth Services position, the library certification, and this particular item. Specifically in relation to the meals tax, and Mr. Pat pointed out, I was a member of the board who voted against the meals tax money at this particular time because, again, we were already allocating funds that we haven't even collected yet. We spent 70% of it on the youth services position. I was originally in favor of seeking the waiver from the state of the certification on the library. However, if we're going to be spending the money that we don't have on this, then why should we be taking the arrow out of our quiver on the certification and risking our certification of the library when we can afford the $10,000 now? So you support that. Likewise, we have an exposure here of approximately $450,000. To me, we should be appropriating the money, having it available, in other words, having it allocated, not worrying about how we're going to pay for it. We appear to have adequate resources to cover it. I understand the majority board's position in relation to just appropriating the minimal amount and then let the state determine what we're going to pay. We do have enough to cover it, and then it will be fine. Again, I just do my budgeting a little bit differently. So if you pass the amendment, that's fine, we will survive. I just allocate my money and do my budgeting a little bit differently.
Mr. Curry.
I'm Mike Curry from 4 Parsonage Lane. I was the one member of the Finance Committee that voted against this amendment. And the reason was that if you look at the funding mechanism and the amount that's being proposed in the amendment of $406,000 represents the minimum amount that would be required under our assessment. If every town within the Northeast Regional Vote District appropriated the bare minimum, and you then built that budget up with respect to what the overall school budget would have to be, it would be an over 5% reduction in absolute dollar terms. which I don't feel is an appropriate sharing of the situation that we're in. We're not cutting our own school system by that level of magnitude, and I don't think it's appropriate to basically pick a number, work upward from the budget, and then essentially inflict an over 5% cut on the voc school.
Mr. Messere.
On the amendment, the position of the majority of the board is that since we don't have a firm number from the vocational school or the state, we have allocated an estimated amount of money, we have put it aside, and when we know exactly what the amount is, and my understanding is the way this is going to work is it's going to be part of the tax recap. The money is there to fund the vocational school. The amendment is only to bring the number down to show that we have rejected their request for a budget, like all of the other towns that have. They don't have, this is the third, our vote makes no difference, by the way, in terms of whether or not this third round of vocational school budget has been rejected, because it already has been rejected by a majority of the members. So this is just a method of, and why it may be confusing, and I read the first motion, that was the amount that they requested on this last round. So I would urge you to approve the amendment to the motion. We can move on in town meeting.
On the amendment, further discussion. Seeing none, we're voting on the amendment, and that's an amount of $406,352 for the voc school budget. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. We're now on the main motion. The Board of Selectmen has made a recommendation against the main motion. The original main motion, but now they're in favor because it's amended. All right, we're down to the amended main motion. 2 articles. This long. Well, anyway. Does the Finance Committee wish to make another recommendation? No. Okay. So the main motion as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Mr. Messere.
Mr. Moderator, I move to adjourn this meeting sine die. Thank you, everyone, for attending.